The recounts and reshuffles are a far cry from the heydays of Labor's 13 years in power.
Labor's glory days were at their peak during the 6-year reign of Premier Jim Bacon, but his vision was cut short in 2004. Paul Lennon reluctantly took over, and despite a crisis with then-Governor Richard Butler and the failed Spirit of Tasmania 3 experiment, Mr Lennon defied the odds to take Labor to victory at the 2006 state election.
I want us to lead the nation economically. I want us to lead the nation socially.
But it wasn't long before the wheels started to fall off. Anti-pulp mill campaigners took to the streets when legislation was introduced into Parliament to fast-track the Guns project.
No pulp mill! No pulp mill!
Then there was the Deals for Mates scandal involving Deputy Premier Brian Greene and the Tasmanian Compliance Corporation. Mr Greene faced 2 criminal trials, but the case was dropped when the jury couldn't reach a verdict. The final straw was the stepping down of Mr Lennon's second deputy, Steve Cons, over what's been dubbed Shreddergate.
I just wish that I could turn the clock back to 2004 when Jim, David Crean and I were working as a great team leading Labor, because they were the great glory days for me.
In May 2008, the leadership baton was passed to a fresh-faced and internet-savvy David Bartlett.
I've heard Tasmanians say to me, Mr Speaker, David, we are trusting you to clean up this mess, and that's what I'm going to do.
But only a few months later, Mr Bartlett was cleaning up his own. His wavering line in the sand on the pulp mill, the bungled post-year 10 education experiment, more ministerial scandals, the state's top cop facing criminal charges, and a stoush with the Director of Public Prosecutions. It was reflected in last year's hung Parliament.
The electorate has sent Labor a message, and I take responsibility to listen today and to continue to listen into the future.
The new look Labor Green minority government didn't have its leader for long. Mr Bartlett stepped aside in January but promised to stay a cabinet minister until the next election in 2014.
It is my intention to fulfil my contract with the people of Denison.
Another broken promise, with Labor's chance of governing in minority for a full term looking more uncertain. Anna Yard, ABC News.
This has all happened at a time when the government is facing its biggest financial challenge in 20 years. No matter how much the Premier tries to sugarcoat the situation, the government is in crisis. 3 members of the New Look cabinet are first-term MPs, and Labor has been forced to hand more power to the Greens. The Premier and the Greens leader remain confident this government can go full term, but ministers with new portfolios now have just days to get across them before Parliament sits again next week. Then, of course, there's the state budget next month. The loss of 2 senior ministers has reignited calls to restore the size of Parliament. Back to you, Peter.